In an era in which having a home or a safe place to go back to take refuge at the end of the day is a foregone conclusion, homeless people risk becoming more and more invisible. From a stat, a person can be considered homeless when he is in a state of material and immaterial poverty, characterized by severe housing problems, that is, the impossibility and/or inability to independently find and maintain a house in the proper sense, and they can be considered as rough sleepers or those using shelters. Homeless people are one of the most vulnerable and marginalized groups in developed countries, and their homelessness situation often persists over the long term. Italy's 2014 homeless population was recorded at 50,724, at a rate of 0.8% of the total population. And the city of Milan is considered home to Italy's largest homeless population, with approximately 2,608 individuals, or 0.19% of its total population, according to Fondazione Rodolfo Di Benedetti in 2018. But looking at the geography of this phenomena in the city of Milan, which features characterize the urban areas targeted by homeless people? What are the factors that affect the localization of rough sleepers? And what is the geographic relationship between homeless shelters and rough sleepers areas? To answer those questions, let's first understand what the conditions of rough sleepers and sheltered homeless are. As defined by ethos, rough sleepers are people living on the streets or in public spaces without a shelter that can be defined as a living quarter. Official statistics show that in 2014, over 50,000 people were homeless in Italy. 4 out of 10 homeless people have been living on the streets for more than 4 years. In 2015, the number of rough sleepers in Italy had reached to 28,773, as declared on an official statistical study conducted by Istat in the 158 larger Italian municipalities. Research done by Bocconi University in collaboration with a non-profit research organization, Fondazione Rodolfo Di Benedetti, were conducted in Milan in 2008, 2013, and lastly in 2018 to quantify, describe, and monitor the phenomenon of homelessness in Milan over time. The survey conducted in 2018 was carried out in 90 areas and in 3 days, since homeless people is very mobile and there is no sampling frame like addresses, phone numbers, and so on. The main results of the research were that 23% of homeless people in Milan are rough sleepers. The street count detected that the majority of rough sleepers were found on the streets, with a percentage of 71%. Whereas a small percentage of them were detected in train stations, hospitals, buses, and vehicles. Within this population, 157 were counted in Municipality 1, which is the historic center of Milan. This may be attributed to the high housing cost in the area, which may have got residents out of their homes. Maybe yet the street sleepers were attracted by the heavy tourist traffic, relying on people passing by for a spare of change. Moreover, looking at the maps of rough sleepers count in 2018 in comparison to 2013, we can notice that the concentration of rough sleepers continues to grow up in the center and the northern part of Milan, particularly in Municipality 1, 2, and 3. Directly from Caritas Group, Alessandro Pezzoni suggests that the main reasons for these localizations could be that
la maggior parte sta in centro per una questione di sicurezza da un lato, che comunque il centro è un po' più controllato, quindi e poi perché le unità di strada tendenzialmente uscivano più in centro, anche se poi adesso in realtà escono un po' in tutto il territorio di Milano. Quindi è più facile che stiano nei luoghi centrali. Attorno alla stazione sì, c'è una certa presenza come in tutte le stazioni. Devo dire che a Milano non così importante, nel senso che poi nella parte distante dalla stazione c'è insomma un po' di popolazione varia, eventuale, che bazzica, ma più di giorni. Sai, come dire, in questi luoghi è legata un po' al fatto di sentirsi più sicuri, in ambienti meno esposti, cioè è più difficile che uno si vada a dormire in periferia a Milano, sotto insomma, un quartiere gallaratese dove non c'è niente, o un po' questa è la motivazione.
But in reality, people on the streets represent only a fraction of this problem, as the largest percentage of homeless people are found in shelters. Therefore, moving on the sheltered homelessness, firstly, we will define the term using ethos definition, which is people with no place of usual residence and who move frequently between various types of accommodations. Their living situation can be either overnight in emergency shelters like Flosso San Martini, or in accommodation where the period of stay is limited and no long-term housing is provided, like in the shelter Housing First. In Italy, the total number of sheltered homeless counted in both emergency and homeless shelters was almost 50,000 people, as declared on an official statistical study conducted by Stat. Studies shows that Milan and Italy are striving to improve inequality and homelessness alike, which gives some hope in the light of the harsh reality we face. Going back to research done by Bocconi University and FRDB, Fondazione Rodolfo Di Benedetti in 2018, focus ourselves now to the shelters present in Milan. The main results of the research were that 77% of homeless people in Milan are in shelters. 32 homeless shelters are located in Milan as shown in the table. Only one of those shelters have a capacity of 500 beds and allows the homeless to stay up to a year and a half, whereas the average shelter size is 73 beds. Also, looking at the map, the location of the shelters is also more concentrated in the northern part of Milan than the southern one.
La stragrande maggioranza delle strutture di accoglienza notturna per persone senza dimora a Milano sono del privato sociale, prevalentemente enti religiosi, qualche ente anche laico. A qualcuno riceve dei finanziamenti dal Comune di Milano o nel periodo del piano freddo o nell'ordinario.
Comparing the two localization maps, it takes us back to one of our research questions. Is there a geographic relationship between homeless shelters and rough sleepers areas? It can be easily noticed that shelters weren't always located in areas with higher presence of rough sleepers. For example, Municipality 1 had less homeless shelters than Municipality 2, despite that the rough sleepers count was the highest in Municipality 1. As from Alessandro Pezzoni experience,
L'accoglienza notturna direi di no, nel senso che poi i centri di accoglienza in realtà sì, qualcuno abbastanza centrale, ma non nel centro-centro. Insomma, la maggior parte dei senza dimora sta proprio nel centro, cioè San Babila, Vittorio Emanuele, insomma, la parte proprio molto centrale. Poi ci sono anche altre zone, tipo Lago Marina d'Italia, nella mappa si vede bene quella di Raccontami. Però non direi che c'è una stretta correlazione tra luoghi di accoglienza notturna e presenza in strada. Cioè non è che stanno fuori in attesa che magari poi si liberi il posto, poi di giorno si spostano. Poi insomma, bisogna fare una distinzione tra senza dimora che stanno in strada di giorno, ma poi si spostano comunque tra servizi vari, vanno in mensa, vanno alla doccia, vanno di qua. Quindi comunque abbandonano in qualche modo il luogo dove dormono di notte. E questo succede per la stragrande maggioranza di quelli che stanno in centro, perché poi di giorno non possono starci.
on the other hand, trying to understand the factors that influence the localization of homeless people in Milan. What are the factors that affect the localization of rough sleepers? We had to look first at the type of services that make up the local system for tackling serious marginality and exclusion. The Ministry of Labor and Social Policies had identified 32 types of interventions and divided them into 5 macro areas. They are services to meet basic needs, nighttime reception services, daycare services, social services, support and integration services. Looking back at the research done by Bocconi University and FRDB in 2018, the research included meetings with local organizations working closely with homeless people, as well as civil protection and managers of homeless shelters. Some interview questions were related to homeless access to services. And as seen in the table, the percentage of accessibility to services for sheltered homeless is higher by almost 40% than the rough sleepers in many cases, like access to food, clothes, and personal hygiene. Analyzing the topic of homelessness is always a great challenge that involves sensibility and determination. Having updated data about this phenomenon is so far the greatest challenge. Homelessness is a condition in constant evolution. It's not always easy to track in a linear way. There are a great variety of causes that determine a homeless person, depending also on the society, the economic condition of a country, and the years he is living in. For these reasons, besides services presence and feeling safe in a place, it's almost impossible to detect specific features of the places homeless people choose to stay in. Until now, the only thing known is that
Le persone in strada ci sono e ci saranno sempre, bisogna lavorare perché le persone dalla strada escano, non ci rimangano.